let me get into this question really quick by Charismatic, because I think it's important. Like, you could see Timothy Weah as the number 9 if Pepe goes down, or if we don't have an option. I'd like to see him there. And I bring up this question because it leads me into which kind of fringe players do we want to see or deserve more of a look in 2022, because we only have 6 World Cup qualifiers, and then we really just have glorified friendlies until the World Cup starts. Yeah. And is that the best time to evaluate guys? And when do we have to name our team? I don't even know if that's been announced. So there's a lot to unpack here, and we only have 6 more looks to really identify who our best 11 are for the most part, or, maybe our best 9 or 10. And I think we're getting closer to that. I think that's starting to work itself out.
Yep.
And then who are our super subs that we know that we can trust and come in and do the job based on the situation, right? And then, okay, who are the guys that are going to be good locker room guys who might not play, but they're going to be in the 23. We have all these things to look at. So my question to you, Heath, and everybody listening or watching, you can hit us up at any time. Doesn't have to be live. It can be any time. Which fringe players do you want to see more of? I'll raise my hand and see. I want to see Joe Scali.
Yep.
I want to see Chris Richards get more games. And to Charismatic's point, I want to see maybe Timo Weah or other players having a chance at that number 9 spot, because I think that could change the outlook on who we bring. So instead of maybe bringing a Zardes, or somebody who maybe is not in form, you're not just bringing them to bring them in because, hey, well, they're a number 9. But you're actually bringing in players that can help kind of move the whole thing forward. And so, yeah, it'd be interesting to see a couple different players in different looks. Honestly, I'd like to see Serginho Dest play out on the wing for us, for the national team. He does it for Barcelona. I'm pretty sure he can do it for the U.S. men's national team, and see what that looks like when he has a proper outside back in front of him, or behind him, either in Scali or Yedlin or Cannon or whoever it is that we want to try there.
Yeah.
And then, of course, there's going to be, I want Mark McKenzie to get more minutes. I want to see when Aaron Long gets healthy, because he's a favorite of Gregg. I want to see where he is and see how sharp he is. Obviously, you want to give him a shot. It's not his fault he got hurt. So it's I don't know. I'll throw it to you. I mean, who are the fringe players? You want to see anybody out of position to see if we look better as a national team?
Yeah, oddly, James Sands was one that and Will's talking about him now, that I really liked. I don't remember what game it was in the Gold Cup where he didn't look as good. He looked a little shaky in his passing, and I think that was just sort of the end of that. Like, you can't have that much of an off day for the national team in terms of your passing range and ability. And he seemed a little unconfident in his defending.
Was that in Panama?
One game. I can't remember what it.
Did he play in Panama?
I can't remember what it was, but it was.
I'm trying to forget that Panama game.
Yeah, it was some sort of shaky moment that I remember just being like, okay, this could be the one where he falls down the depth chart a little bit. And so far, we've sort of seen that be the case. But when I watch him at times, he just seems that calming presence, which I really like. And when I look at our midfield, by the way, we don't have a lot of calming presence deep in the hole. Tyler Adams, good on the ball, but not a calming presence deep in the hole, right? In terms of like, get it off your center backs under pressure with your back to the field, knowing where the answer is. Actually, the best one that we have is Eunice Musa and his ability to get the ball in deep spaces and solve problems through either passing, dribbling, passing, and moving. He's just got a wide range of ways that even if he's under pressure, he's going to get out of a mess or get out of a certain situation. That really unbalances teams when you have somebody that can do that, right? Because they think that they got you in a spot. And Mexico's technically are always a team that are so good at that, where you feel like you've got them trapped. Ding, ding, ding. They're out the other side, and now everybody's sprinting back going, oh, man, here they go on a counterattack. And so having that, I think, is really, really good. But, in terms of players I want to see, Joe Scali for sure is number 1. Because if yes, we know he's a quality player because he plays in the Bundesliga and he's still a teenager and whatever. But you know what it's like, Jimmy. Sometimes it takes years, if ever, that players feel comfortable at the national team level, right? The international game is different. You want to get that experience for him. Obviously, playing in a World Cup is going to be very different than qualifying for CONCACAF as well. What the expectations of a player are, the style of play, those types of things are going to be really, really important. David talking about Brian Reynolds as well. He's another one that was a little bit on the depth chart when he was walking around.
I'll say that's how.
Yeah,
for sure.
Denver.
I mean, we haven't even brought up Conrad de la Fuente either. We have other options. And to Tyler's point, he says, put some respect on Daryl Dike's name. Dude, I don't know how many times you've watched this. We talk about Daryl Dike as glowingly as possible all the time, and we want to see him. So, yes.
Tell Gregg that. Tell Gregg that. Don't tell us.
Tyler, we're on the same page, dude. We're not trying to disrespect Daryl Dike. I think he's fantastic, and his scoring has been next level. I think he scored 7 goals in his last 8 games to carry Orlando into the playoffs. So I'm excited to see how he plays. But yeah, De La Fuente is not even a name we've mentioned.
Yep. Yeah, it's certainly, and this is my issue, right? Is you start to look at the depth charts of these teams and the versatility, right? And you talked about Dest playing potentially right midfield. Well, what does that mean for Ariella? Probably means that you have enough versatility. If you can get Dest a couple of games in the national team, or this guy plays winger for Barcelona, I think I could put him in a bind and he'll probably do all right. But then that means, okay, well, what happens if Dest, because Dest's another player who's fragile, does that now mean that you need to have a Yedlin at right back? And if Joe Scali doesn't work, then who is your depth chart? If you have coverage at right midfield, you don't need Areola anymore. Dest could still play right back, could fill in at right wing in the bind. If you had Brendan Aaronson playing on the left side, there's a number of things when you're putting together a roster that don't all align together, right? It's this domino effect. But the one thing that I want to see more of is more 9 options. I appreciate Greg bringing in Jesus Ferreira. Jesus Ferreira is a false 9. He doesn't play as a 9 for FC Dallas because who does? Ricardo Pepi, the guy who starts on our national team. And so, and I thought Ferreira was pretty good and very active in the short minutes that he played for the national team in this last camp. But I do think we need another number 9 option. If I'm Greg, I'm kicking down the door and telling Faloran Balogun, hey, let's go, man. Let's go. Let's make this happen. This is wide open for you. We've got this super young team that are all your age. You are the future of it. You are the present. Let's figure this out. Let's get you into the national team for a few games of importance. But I will say this. Daryl Dike, I think, should be in right now as well.
I would love to see him. Yeah.
There is going to be, and this is my hot take, I don't know who it is, but a player that does not play in a qualifier that will make our World Cup squad. And I'm talking about a player that hasn't been called in. Like, there's still a player between now and the World Cup that is not in the national team picture. When I'm thinking about Ricardo Pepi 6 months ago, not part of the picture. When I think about Brendan Aaronson a year ago, just talking about this scrawny little kid who's got some potential at Philadelphia Union and then just exploding in terms of his development. There is going to be a player. It'd be unrealistic not to think in the next 12 months that a player that's not in the national team now that we're may or may not be talking about is going to take a spot from a player that we think is in.
Yeah, I was going to say Aaron Hall. Aaron Hall said Caden Clark and Paxten Aaronson. I mean, the Aaronson, I don't know how many boys the Aaronson family had.
There's 9 more. There's 9 more coming after them.
To fill out the team. There's a lot of Aaronson kids out there. Yeah, Paxten, I think, would have to take some pretty big strides to break into the space where we already have a lot of talent.
The one thing I will say, by the way, on Paxten, real quick, and I'll let you talk about Caden.
Yeah,
people say his mentality is the exact same as his brothers. They did this survey at YSC Academy with all the players of like, whose position do you want to take in the first team? And everyone talked about it, I want to be this guy, I want to be that way. And Paxten was the only one that said, I want my brother's position. I want to take his spot in the starting lineup and like push him out of the starting lineup. So he's got that same sort of soccer only mentality, doesn't have any other hobbies or interests, just plays soccer. So that actually tends to bode well for a player in their development if when they have that type of mentality. But anyways, you were talking about Caden going to Leipzig.
No, probably. I like Caden as well. Caden Clark, he's obviously very talented and he's making a move to RB Leipzig. So, he could be one that breaks in and finds some space and wins Greg over enough that this player could add value to what we're trying to do and could provide cover. I think the player that you're mentioning won't be a starter, but I think it would be somebody that comes in and fits a very specific niche based on potentially the opponents that we're going up against, where all of a sudden, if you've got a couple, big, tall center backs that are physical, and that might not be Ricardo Pepi's game. Maybe that's where his Daryl Dike comes in and can provide us a little bit more of that hold up play. Maybe his hold up play gets tremendous over the next year. Maybe Daryl Dike makes a move in January and all of a sudden takes these bigger strides that I think mesh really well with all the other complementary players that will be providing him service or getting link up play or whatever it is. It's really interesting, the whole process. And we've had some great suggestions from the chat. So keep it coming in the community. We'd like to hear from everybody else that isn't watching this live. But I think what's very cool, and when we scale back, because I think we all get in and we get really passionate about the team and names and all this stuff. Dude, our player pool is super deep. And it's awesome that we're going to have so many of these options on one hand. And then as you and I that have both lived from being cut, some of the last players for a World Cup, to be on that side of it is heartbreaking. And you sacrifice so much of your life to even have this chance to get a look, and then to have it broken like that is tough, especially when you're at the finish line and you trip ultimately in some ways.